the Netherlands, and he is the director of the New Energy Coalition. So he's been working in many different areas, but means basically on biogas and infrastructure. And he's basically working on clusters like green gas, bio LNG, power to gas, biomass conversion technologies, etc., etc. However, today he's here to talk about the hydrogen activities in northern Netherlands, and as I'm sure that you will see, they've got really ambitious targets.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me. Got a presentation. Okay, yeah. Which comprises somewhat more slides than you would imagine, so I will skip some in due course of the presentation. Well, as Paul stated, my name is Patrick Cnubben. I'm working for the New Energy Coalition, a recently established organization, 2 years old, but let's say the merging partners were around for about 15 to 17 years. So we are new. We are old, but in a new let's say package. Okay. Well, let me explain the northern Netherlands. We are the northeastern part of the Netherlands. The Netherlands is about 17 million inhabitants, and our region comprises about 25% of the Dutch, let's say, land area. But we only have 10% of the inhabitants, so 1.7, 1.8 million inhabitants. So it's very challenging to develop new projects compared to the heavily, let's say, inhabited areas around Amsterdam and Rotterdam. But we have been active in managing vast energy flows for about 70 years. In our region, we have the largest onshore gas field on mainland Europe. It's called the Slochtern field. It's quite well known in the let's say the oil and gas sector. But having extracted gas for 70 years has brought a lot of prosperity to the Netherlands, but also some problems which have been coming up in the last 7 years, which are earthquakes. And you'll see a picture of the intensity of earthquakes due to natural gas extraction in the region. And the houses are affected. It's very, let's say, challenging to live there. There are no casualties, lethal casualties yet, but you can imagine that whenever your house is trembling, some parties like in Iceland are, I think, used to earthquakes, it's not an acquired taste, I can tell you, if you're in that region, because the quakes have a intensity of about maximum 4, but the soil conditions are such that it's peaty and clayey. So whenever it rocks, it goes on up to the surface and really destroys the foundations of the houses, which makes houses that they cannot be sold. And you got a mortgage, so you're actually locked in on the spot with your mortgage, nowhere to go. And that has resulted in an action from our government to stop the extraction of the natural gas from that field and other fields. And as I told you, it has brought a lot of prosperity in natural gas. Now the gas is going. About 25,000 people are involved in the natural gas sector. So we have a business in the region called natural gas, but we're stepping out. And that's a big problem. It's a big challenge, and we think that hydrogen may offer a solution, for we are used to managing large energy streams for the last 70 years. And whenever you can transport and handle a molecule like methane, you can also do that with hydrogen. Some adaptations are needed, so this gives us the opportunity to create a new business model for the region, and we think hydrogen can be a very big part of that. Let me get back to the economics. What you can see there is the gas production over the years, that's the top graph, and the decline in that due to the earthquakes has been going on for some time. And you see the red line, which indicates the cumulative impact on the economy due to extracting less gas. And for our region, it can go up to this is a very moderate assumption, about 8%. We have made some new calculations. It will go up to 10 to 12% reduction of the gross regional product. Big challenge because you sell the gas, you get revenues, VAT and all kinds of taxes, and that will go away. So we need to find a solution. And we have a plan. It's called Green Hydrogen Economic Program. We made a booklet of it, this one. I didn't bring 50 copies with me, but it's downloadable, and if you want a hard copy, just drop me a line or call, and we will make sure that you get a copy. So in that plan, we described how we want to convert from natural gas to hydrogen in the region. And as I stated, our region has been involved in natural gas for many years, so we think that hydrogen fits us as a glove. We need to do some things, sure, but it fits. And we can facilitate markets. We can produce a lot of hydrogen, and we must use a lot of hydrogen to make it economically feasible. So we've made some calculations. 250,000. We can produce 270,000 tons, and we can use 270,000 tons distributed over 4 main markets. The markets are the chemical industry, the mobility industry, grid balancing, and let's say the rest can be exported using pipelines. We are managing these streams, so the existing pipeline infrastructure in the Netherlands connecting us to the rest of mainland Europe facilitates us in exporting hydrogen and making a tremendous contribution to, let's say, go zero carbon, go from high carbon, natural gas, to low carbon mixes, to no carbon emissions. That's 100% hydrogen. That's green stuff. But we are very aware that we are working in we're not working in splendid isolation. We need to collaborate. And that's why we also like to visit venues like yours, Paul, because we need to tell the story, and we are open to collaborate with anyone. We are reaching out to everybody who wants to cooperate, who wants to coordinate things, and so that's our main goal. We have to cooperate because this is a very big challenge. We have some priorities. We are looking into infrastructure. Harbors are logistical entry and exit points. Usually energy can be transported from and into harbors quite effectively. We look to absorb the industry, have them absorb the hydrogen, the mobility, the built environment, as I stated, and the net balancing. Net balancing will take some time because we have to align the business models of the power sector and the natural gas sector. It's quite hefty. But also, I mentioned the 25 to 28,000 people involved. We need to re-educate them. The existing ones, the new ones, the young ones, we need to educate in the right way. So we have a vast program on human capital and innovation. You can build it, but you have to maintain it. Somebody has to do that, and we think that vocational craftsmen, etc., and scientists are very important in that respect. This is a picture made from our colleagues from Gasunie, in which we actually state we will use the North Sea as a big energy park, a lot of windmills. Power comes on shore. The power cannot be distributed within the next 5 to 7 years because it takes a lot of time to construct high voltage power lines. It takes about 7 to 10 years. And we have the gas infrastructure in the soil already. So we think that we can build very large electrolyzer systems onshore in the harbors. These electrolyzers will can the electrons in the form of hydrogen. The hydrogen will be stored in several underground salt caverns on the large scale, and then we will be re-evacuated into the grid to the customers. And obviously we cannot do it instantaneously to everybody, so we are, let's say, developing several specific gas lines to accommodate specific clients in first instance. And we do think that industry has a very big say in that, because you have to produce on scale and you have to use on scale, and that's typically industry, and that will bring down the price. We have prepared a investment agenda for our region. That's, I think it's 3 months old now. And it comprises, if we allocate all the investments, it's about 2.8 to 3 billion euros within the coming 5-6 years, which we want to deploy into hydrogen. What you can see is on the top, it's the North Sea coast, the Wadden Sea coast. There are industry complexes are located. We will develop the big scale electrolyzers there, and then it will be evacuated over big pipelines, 40-inch, the big ones, not the small ones. They are there as well, but the big pipelines, and there are many of them, believe me. So we will reutilize them and connect it to industry. Furthermore, we will make some more plans, etc. I made a picture, a graph of the current electrolyzers we are planning now. We have one of 20 megawatts in, that's the middle one. It's being constructed. We got on the top side, it's a German one, power to, it's element 1, it's power to gas, actually, 100 megawatts. We got the low one, it's 1 megawatt. It's very small, but it's particular because it's on top of a salt cavern. And actually, you can't fill a big salt cavern with a 1 megawatt electrolyzer, but it's a test. And we will see if we can expand that. We got in the south 2 to 20, eventually going up to about 25 to 50 megawatts. This is the Equinor project. This is power to gas, gas to power, apologies. So pre-combusting natural gas, absorbing the CO2, storing it under the seabed, and the hydrogen, which we deem blue hydrogen, is also evacuated in the natural grid to get the market started. 40 megawatt electrolyzers on the roll will be presented shortly, and we got a 100 megawatt one in the neighborhood of Amsterdam to work with the steel production, and there's another one coming in that's 100 megawatt, which has been announced last year and will probably go up to 1 gigawatt within the next 7 years. So these are the plans, and you can imagine we are working quite hard to have them financed, which is a challenge. I have some pictures of projects. I will skip them through because it's all in the last 2 slides. This is a very large European-funded project in which we utilize the Cobra cable coming from Esbjerg in Denmark to our region, 700 megawatts, direct current, HVDC interconnector. The power is then, let's say, rerouted through our high voltage system, amongst else to this little 1 megawatt electrolyzer on top of the salt cavern, and then it's being transported with trucks to a fueling station. So this is one of the biggest projects from Europe funded in that respect. Here you can see to the right-hand side our part of our industry hub in Delfzijl, that's near the shore. And this on the left-hand side is the 1 megawatt on top of the natural gas caverns, the salt caverns. It's a very vast, there are 8 caverns underneath. It's a very big storage department. These are the parties involved: Energy Stock, subsidiary of GasUnie, and Nourion, and TSO is the project name. Here you can see let's say, a slide of...
Stay near the mic, please.
Sorry. Here you can see let's say a part of the subsoil in which this distance is about 1 kilometer, and then it's going down. It's a salt mountain under the soil, and these caverns are about 300 meters high, and they can absorb about 1 million cubic meters of water volume. In hydrogen terms, you can see that in somewhat more detail here. This can accommodate about 12,000 tons of hydrogen. That's a very large amount, and we are not there yet, but we have 8 of them on one location, and there are several other sites as well. Actually, there's a lot of salt caverns all over Northern Europe and under the North Sea as well. well, this is the multi-fuel station, as I said. This is 70 meters in diameter, and all fuels available are there. So the fossil ones, diesel, gasoline, high blends, low blends, let's say the pure 100% biodiesel, ethanol, methanol, not yet. We will have an LNG station in the coming months, and before the end of the year, we will have the hydrogen station there, hopefully running. And that's an interesting part for us. Furthermore, we think big. We think that the North Sea is a very big energy park, on which you can build a lot of windmills. But imagine that you have to connect parks individually to the shoreline. It takes a lot of copper, and that may be very costly and very ineffective from the energetic perspective. So we are thinking of constructing a large energy island in the middle of the North Sea. And probably it will not be one island, but several, not in the biggest size, but some smaller ones, all over the North Sea, to have it running. And these discussions are very, let's say, new. These are running in our parliament. Actually, it started this week. Will take some months to get further, and then we have to align with the other countries around the North Sea. Okay. Wales, we have buses in hydrogen 32. We have an improved Tesla. It's called the Tesla. It's a Tesla running on hydrogen. We have the trains are coming in. They're not there yet because they're now operational in Germany, but we are looking for our region to have hydrogen trains as well. Street sweepers on hydrogen, garbage trucks, and this is very interesting. The company who designed this, called Holthausen, they are a small gas trading company. Let's say the biggest of the small ones, or the smallest of the big ones. And they were thinking, actually, the engineer was irritated by the street sweeper who was running in front of his house, made a lot of noise, and they rebuilt it on hydrogen. They scrapped the diesel engine, put a fuel cell in it with a tank, and it runs. And it is operational in the city, in the municipality of Groningen. And it received a lot of attention all over the world, from Los Angeles, Vatican City, one. The Pope needs to be, let's say, have some night rest. Barcelona, and I think he has about 350 orders of these things. And the interesting thing is, one of the aspects we are concerned with is getting the public aware of hydrogen. And buses help, but also these kinds of things, because the public can see it. They can, it drives beside them, it does its thing wherever they are. So these are very interesting things for us as well. The buses I told you about, trains as well, ships. We are going to investigate the development of a small hydrogen carrier. This is the smallest LNG carrier in the world. It's 65 meters long. It's now it's built in our region. It's operating in Norway. It's called the Cnubben Pioneer, and it brings LNG to all the fjords. Actually, LNG and hydrogen are somewhat similar, apart from the temperature. So we are looking into designing a import-export facility with these kinds of small vessels, and that would be interesting, a very interesting, let's say, investigation also for the huge project and the projects around it and all the parties around the North Sea, like Iceland as well. Because if you can make the stuff, that's good, but then you have to bring it to the market, and that is a very costly thing if you are developing these apparatuses one by one. That will cost you a lot of money, and combining it with others may be very very interesting. Also with the Scots, because they are looking at the ferries as well. Looking at salt barges for inland waterway transport on hydrogen. This is 110 meters long, running on hydrogen, and the business case on hydrogen is very much competitive with diesel now already. Okay. Then we have a ship which we will bring to the Olympics in Tokyo. This is a sailing ship with, of course, diesel engines, and we're scrapping the diesel engines, putting fuel cells in it, and we want to demonstrate it in Tokyo as our northern flagship. We are going to Tokyo in some weeks, so this is very happy. And we have a little tourist barge already running in the canals in Groningen on hydrogen as well. So we have some value chain solutions. I will skip that one. This is very interesting. This is a residential area in which 80 new houses will be constructed on hydrogen, completely with a boiler fit for hydrogen. So no natural gas connections. And if that works, we can extend it to 1,100 houses, which are already there. So they need to be refurbished. And there is natural gas infrastructure, so we are investigating how to bring hydrogen into that system, replace the natural gas totally or partly, and adapting the boilers. And that is really a very big thing, because it is actually very simple, but it costs a lot of money. And then the simpleness stops, because you have to get some money from somebody, and we will work. We are also going to replace the backup power facility of a data center with hydrogen. Now this data center is brand new, has a 6 megawatt connection to the grid, 6 megawatt, and 9 megawatts of emergency power, of course, on diesel. And it has to run every week for several hours just to test it to be compliant. And we are discussing with the owner to replace one of the 9 megawatts for hydrogen, but not as backup power, but as continuous power. So we can use the grid as a backup. And this is particularly interesting from mainland Europe, because it's very difficult to build data centers, because the cities are crowded, the grid is congested, you cannot build a thing anymore. And we think having these kinds of solutions with hydrogen offers a new opportunity, because data centers are needed very much, because we are very dependent on it, otherwise our computers and telephones and all the other media won't work. This is actually an old picture. What you're seeing is gone now. This is a sour gas cleaning facility. Natural gas contains sulfur. Sulfur has to be removed. It's sour, sulfur. And then the cleaned up gas is put into the gas grid. This is gone, and it's being rebuilt as an electrolyzer location together with some fermenters, etc. And that is really a thing, because that will open up in the course of next year. End of next year will be more or less operational, and then we can demonstrate inland, so not on the shore, inland, how to repurpose old or obsolete natural gas infrastructure. Because the infrastructure which is there, which can be reutilized or repurposed, you don't have to put in the extra money, because it's there. You just need to clean it, and that can be done. Then I'll skip to this one. This is our newest project, as has been applied to the European Commission and to FCHEU recently, and we hope that we are one of the winners of this one. Actually, the Irish Hydrogen Association, Hydrogen Ireland, is one of the parties involved. So I think Mr. I don't know the name anymore, but is it McCorgan, I think, is here as well. And it looks like this. And it's a schematic, of course, but all the projects I showed you on beforehand are included. So this is the North Sea, this is the high power grid on the side. These are the DSOs, the local grids, 4 clusters, 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is the cluster on which we will use offshore and onshore power. Build an electrolyzer, 100 megawatt, 100. Evacuate by trailer or by pipeline. This is an industrial complex with a 20 to 40 megawatt electrolyzer. Evacuate the hydrogen on a industrial ring, specifically established for hydrogen, bringing it to all the industries, which are a lot over there. Then we have the electrolyzer on top of the salt cavern, which can be used as a lung, more or less. We will evacuate the hydrogen to the housing and to the data center and to, let's say, the houses, as I explained. This is the 2 to 20 megawatt electrolyzer on the sour gas field, which will be connected to industry by a dedicated pipeline. A fueling station will be there and buses will be operated. The other hydrogen will be evacuated by trailers to other fueling stations. This is a 350 bar, which will be upgraded to 700 bar. This is 700 bar already. This will be both 350 and 700, and we will have about 30 buses, 100 passenger vehicles, several light utility vehicles, 8 very heavy vehicles, so the Hyundais or Nikola. We are looking into that, and ships, of course. And if I continue it, you will see that this is a project, so it's not going to be seen quite well, but all these projects are there, and this is particularly interesting because if we can do it in this way, we can extend the high pressure pipelines. And we are actually having a 150 kilometer line in the project, repurposed. So the existing bits of the pipeline are investigated, they are quite good. Some connections need to be, let's say, upgraded and made hydrogen ready, and that is something we are going to, and we have the maximum support from our government. They put some money on the table, the region has put some money on the table, and now we are waiting for, let's say, the FCHU to come over the bridge to help us and make it work. And so these are all the parties involved. And this is another graphic, it's the same. The slide before is this one on the top hand, and these are the majority of the bigger projects in the Netherlands. This is on the website of GasUnie, or one of our colleagues. This is the timeline. So these are the things we are going to do in the region. Lots more going on, but in essence, this is the framework, and we are very open to discuss and to participate with parties who are interested in getting hydrogen mainstream in Europe. Because I think if you're going to do it, the time is now, and there is no time to wait. Okay, this is it. All right. Oh.
Yeah, thank you, Paddy. The last speaker before the panel discussion is Federico Zenith. He's coming from Norway, from SINTEF, and he's been in the research